Barış Arduç Elçin Sangu, the one moment that changed everything between them. One glance. That's all it took. One unguarded moment caught on camera that would haunt two of Turkey's biggest stars for years to come. Barış Arduç and Elçin Sangu thought they had it all under control. The perfect professional relationship. The carefully crafted public image. The boundary between fiction and reality firmly in place. But on one unforgettable night, in front of millions of witnesses, that boundary shattered. And what happened next, what they did, what they said, what they tried to hide, became the most talked about mystery in Turkish entertainment history. This is the story of the moment that changed everything. And trust me, you have no idea how deep this goes. Before we dive into that fateful night, you need to understand where this all started. Because Barış Arduç and Elçin Sangu weren't always the golden couple of Turkish television. Their paths to stardom were completely different, and the fact that they ended up together on screen at all was almost accidental. Barış grew up with dreams bigger than his circumstances. Born in Switzerland, but raised between countries, he always felt like an outsider looking in. He studied at a private university, got into management and advertising, did everything his family expected. But acting called to him. It wasn't the fame he wanted. It was the transformation. The ability to become someone else. To tell stories that mattered. So he took classes. Did small roles. Modeled to pay bills. Worked his way up slowly in an industry that didn't hand out second chances. Elçin's journey was different, but equally challenging. She came from Izmir, studied history and archaeology, and seemed destined for an academic life. But there was something inside her that craved the spotlight. Not for vanity. For expression. She was a natural performer, and once she decided to pursue acting, she committed fully. Supporting roles. Guest appearances. Anything to get experience. To learn. To prove herself in a world dominated by established stars and family connections. By 2015, both of them were hungry. Talented but not yet discovered. And then the casting call for Karalık Aşk came. The show's premise was simple enough. Defne, a young professional woman, hires Ömer, a charming but struggling man, to pose as her boyfriend. What starts as a fake relationship slowly becomes real. Standard romantic comedy formula. The producers were looking for actors with chemistry, sure, but they were also looking for something else. Authenticity. Warmth. The kind of energy that makes viewers believe in love again. When Barış and Elçin auditioned together, something clicked immediately. The casting directors saw it. The producers saw it. Even the other actors in the room saw it. There was an ease between them. A natural rhythm. When they read their lines, it didn't feel like acting. It felt like eavesdropping on a real conversation between two people who genuinely enjoyed each other. They got the roles. And neither of them had any idea what they were about to step into. Filming began in the summer of 2015. The first few weeks were standard production chaos. Learning lines. Building chemistry. Figuring out the rhythm of the show. But something unusual started happening. The crew noticed it first. Between takes, Barış and Elçin didn't retreat to their trailers like most leads. They stayed on set. Talked. Laughed. Ran lines together even when they didn't have to. They started developing inside jokes. Finishing each other's sentences. Reading each other's moods. The director loved it. Because what they were building off camera was translating directly onto the screen. Their scenes crackled with life. The romantic moments felt genuine. The comedy landed because their timing was perfect. The emotional scenes hit hard because you could see real vulnerability in their eyes. When the first episode aired, the response was immediate and overwhelming. Social media exploded. Viewers weren't just watching a show. They were falling in love with Defne and Ömer. Or more accurately, they were falling in love with Barış and Elçin. The hashtag started trending. Fan accounts multiplied overnight. Every episode brought higher ratings. And with that success came something neither actor had experienced before. Intense public scrutiny. Because here's what happens when you create magic on screen with someone. People don't want it to be acting. They want it to be real. And Turkish viewers, passionate and invested, began watching everything Barış and Elçin did with microscopic attention. A behind-the-scenes photo where his hand rested on her shoulder? Evidence. An interview where she laughed at his joke a little too hard? Proof. The way they looked at each other during press events? Undeniable chemistry. Fans started compiling videos, creating montages, analyzing body language, building entire theories about secret glances and hidden meanings. And the media, smelling a story that would sell papers and generate clicks, went into overdrive. Every entertainment show wanted them as guests. Every magazine wanted them on the cover. And every single interview came back to the same question, asked 100 different ways. Are you two together in real life? Barış and Elçin handled it the way their publicists advised, with practiced deflection. They praised each other's professionalism, talked about their friendship, emphasized their respect for the craft. They smiled. They laughed. They gave answers that said everything and nothing at the same time. But if you watched closely, and millions did, you could see the cracks forming. The question made them uncomfortable. Not angry. Not annoyed. Uncomfortable in a way that suggested there was something real to protect. On set, their connection continued to deepen. The production ran for over a year, which meant they spent more time with each other than with their own families. 12-hour days. 6 days a week. Filming scenes that required emotional intimacy, physical closeness, vulnerability. Cast members from the show have since spoken, carefully, about what they witnessed. They talk about how Barış would bring Elçin her favorite tea without being asked. How she would know when he was tired or stressed just by looking at him. How they developed their own language, communicating with glances and small gestures that no one else understood. One crew member, speaking anonymously years later, said something particularly revealing. They said that watching Barış and Elçin film their romantic scenes was sometimes uncomfortable. Not because they were unprofessional, but because it felt too real. Too private. Like witnessing something that wasn't meant for an audience. The show's success kept climbing. Awards nominations started pouring in. Karalık Aşk became not just a hit, but a cultural phenomenon. People scheduled their weeks around new episodes. The show was sold to multiple countries. Barış and Elçin became household names across Turkey and beyond. And with that fame came pressure unlike anything either had experienced. Paparazzi followed them constantly. Tabloids published stories, some true, many fabricated. Their every move was documented. Their social media posts analyzed. Their interactions with other people, potential romantic interests, scrutinized and judged. Through it all, they maintained their public stance. Colleagues. Friends. Nothing more. But the evidence kept mounting. Not scandalous evidence. Just small, human moments that suggested something deeper. Like the time Barış was asked in an interview about his ideal woman. He described qualities that sounded suspiciously like Elçin. When the interviewer pointed this out, he smiled and changed the subject. Or when Elçin was asked what she looked for in a partner and said someone who understood her silences. Someone who made her feel safe. And then she glanced, just for a second, in Barış's direction. These moments were never definitive. Never a confession. But they accumulated, built into a narrative that fans and media alike couldn't ignore. Then came the turning point. The moment everything shifted from speculation to something much more complex. It was the Golden Butterfly Awards, one of the most prestigious events in Turkish television. The year was 2016. Karalık Aşk was at the height of its success, nominated in multiple categories including Best Romantic Comedy and Best Actor and Actress. The night started like any major award show. Red carpet arrivals. Designer gowns and sharp suits. Cameras flashing. Reporters shouting questions. Barış arrived first, looking impossibly handsome in a tailored black tuxedo. He posed for photos, gave brief interviews, maintained his charming public persona. Elçin arrived separately, as she always did. She was stunning in an elegant dress that was both sophisticated and understated. She smiled for the cameras, waved to fans, answered the standard questions. But people who were there said she seemed different that night. More nervous than usual. Like she was bracing for something. When they saw each other inside, before the ceremony started, witnesses said the energy changed. They greeted each other politely, appropriately. But there was tension. Not conflict. Something else. Anticipation, maybe. Or dread. The ceremony began. Categories were announced. Awards were given. And then came the moment. Karalik asked one for Best Romantic Comedy. The audience erupted. The camera cut to Barış and Elçin at their table. They stood, smiled, and walked toward the stage together. This was it. The moment that would be replayed millions of times. Analyzed frame by frame. Debated endlessly. The moment that changed everything. They reached the stage. Accepted the award. The applause was thunderous. Barış stepped to the microphone first. He thanked the producers, the writers, the entire cast and crew. Standard acceptance speech. Professional. Gracious. But then he turned to Elçin. And something in his expression shifted. The professional mask slipped. Just for a moment, but enough. He said her name. Elçin. Not as a co-star. Not as a colleague. The way he said it carried weight. History. Emotion. He told the audience that none of the show's success would have been possible without her. That she was the heart of every scene. That working with her had been the greatest privilege of his career. Nice words. Appropriate words. But then he paused. A long pause. You could feel the entire room holding its breath. He said, and this is where it gets interesting, that some partnerships change you. That some people come into your life and nothing is ever the same. He didn't say he was talking about her. But his eyes never left her face. The audience started to react. Whispers. Gasps. The energy in the room shifted from polite to electric. Elçin's expression in that moment has been analyzed endlessly. She looked surprised. Vulnerable. Like she wanted to say something but couldn't. Her eyes were shining, possibly with tears, though she never let them fall. When Barış stepped back and handed her the microphone, you could see her hands were shaking slightly. She tried to laugh it off. Made a joke about him stealing all the good thank yous. The audience laughed, breaking some of the tension. But then she started her own speech. And she couldn't quite maintain the lightness. She thanked the same people. Hit the same professional notes. But when she turned to Barış, her voice changed. Got quieter. More intimate, even in front of thousands of people and millions watching at home. She said that trust was everything in this work. That she'd never felt safer with a scene partner. That Barış had taught her things about acting, about storytelling, about herself that she'd carry forever. And then she said something that sent the rumor mill into overdrive. She said some experiences are too precious to put into words. Some connections too rare to define. And that she was grateful, truly grateful, for whatever this was. Whatever this was. Those 4 words became instant headlines. Because they weren't a confirmation. But they also weren't a denial. They were an acknowledgement of something undefined. Something that existed outside of normal categories. The way she looked at him when she said it, the way he looked back, it felt like the rest of the world disappeared. Just for a second. But that second was captured by every camera in the room. When they left the stage together, walking side by side, the audience gave them a standing ovation. But the applause wasn't just for the show's success. It was for them. For whatever they had just revealed, even if they hadn't meant to. Backstage was chaos. Reporters trying to get comments. Publicists running interference. Questions being shouted from every direction. Are you together? How long has this been going on? Is the relationship real? Barış and Elçin were separated by their teams. Taken to different areas. Given the same advice. Say nothing. Let the moment pass. Don't feed the frenzy. But it was too late. The clip from their acceptance speech was already going viral. Within an hour, it had millions of views. Within a day, it was international news. Turkish media went into a feeding frenzy. Every entertainment outlet led with the story. Relationship experts were brought on television to analyze their body language. Fans were divided into camps. Some celebrating what they believed was a confirmed romance. Others insisting it was just beautiful friendship being misinterpreted. The days following the award ceremony were brutal for both actors. Paparazzi camped outside their homes. Every movement was tracked. Every social media post scrutinized. The pressure to make a statement, to confirm or deny, became overwhelming. And here's where the story takes a turn that few expected. Instead of addressing it, instead of giving the clarification everyone demanded, Barış and Elçin went silent. Not hostile silent. Just absent. They stopped doing interviews together. Stopped posting about each other on social media. The playful behind-the-scenes content that fans loved disappeared completely. It looked like retreat. Like they were trying to put distance between themselves and the speculation. But people close to them said something different was happening. They said Barış and Elçin were protecting something. That they'd made a choice together to keep whatever was between them private, regardless of the cost to their public image. The show was still in production. They still had months of filming left. Which meant they couldn't actually separate, even if they wanted to. They still had to work together every day. Still had to film intimate scenes. Still had to be Daphne and Ömer while their real lives were under siege. Cast members said the atmosphere on set changed after the awards night. Not in a bad way. But there was a new seriousness. A protective energy from everyone. The crew became more guarded about what they shared. The other actors deflected questions about Barış and Elçin's relationship. Everyone circled the wagons. And the two at the center of it all? They kept working. Kept delivering incredible performances. Kept showing up for each other professionally. But the ease that had been there before, the public displays of their connection, went underground. There were still moments, though, leaked by crew members or fans who visited the set. Stories of Barış bringing Elçin lunch when she was too busy to eat. Of Elçin staying late to help him rehearse a difficult scene even though she wasn't called that day. Small kindnesses. Private gestures. Things that suggested whatever they were protecting was still very much alive. The final episodes of Karalık Aşk aired in early 2017. The series finale was watched by millions. Daphne and Ömer got their happy ending. The fake relationship became real. They chose each other, declared their love, rode off into the metaphorical sunset. And viewers wept. Not just for the characters, but because it felt like goodbye to Barış and Elçin as a unit. As whatever they were. The wrap party for the show was private. No media allowed. No social media posts. Just the cast and crew celebrating 2 years of work. People who were there said it was emotional. Lots of tears. Lots of gratitude. And when Barış and Elçin said goodbye to each other at the end of the night, it was long. Tight. The kind of hug that says too much. After the show ended, they went their separate ways professionally. Barış took on new projects. Action roles. Dramatic turns. He worked to show his range beyond romantic comedy. Elçin did the same. Chose diverse characters. Challenged herself. Built a career independent of the show that made her famous. They supported each other publicly when appropriate. A congratulatory tweet when one landed a new role. A like on an Instagram post. But the intimacy was gone from these interactions. It felt obligatory. Professional. Safe. Months passed. Then a year. The frenzy around them died down. New celebrity couples emerged. New scandals took over the headlines. Barış and Elçin became yesterday's news. But the fans never forgot. Online communities dedicated to them remained active. People still watched old episodes. Still analyzed that award speech. Still wondered what really happened. What was real? What was performance? Whether they'd let something precious slip away because the world was watching too closely. Then came another development that reignited everything. Barış started being seen with someone new. A fellow actress. The paparazzi caught them having dinner. Then coffee. Then walking together looking comfortable and familiar. The relationship went public. Official. And eventually, he got engaged. Married. When the news broke, the reaction was fascinating. Some fans were happy for him. Others felt betrayed, though they couldn't articulate why. Because he'd never actually confirmed anything with Elçin. Never promised anything. But the disappointment was real. Elçin's response was telling. She posted congratulations on social media. Brief. Polite. Appropriate. But fans analyzed it like archaeologists examining ancient artifacts. They noted that she didn't use any particularly warm language, didn't post a photo with the couple, just a simple statement of good wishes. In interviews around that time, when asked about Barış's marriage, Elçin was diplomatic. Said she wished him every happiness, that he deserved love, that they'd always be grateful for what they created together. Perfect answers. Revealing nothing. But there was one interview, done for a smaller outlet, where the journalist caught her off guard. Asked not about Barış specifically, but about whether she believed in timing. Whether two people could be right for each other but wrong for the moment. Elçin paused. Really thought about it. And then she said yes. That timing was everything. That you could care deeply about someone and still not be able to make it work because of circumstances. Career. Timing. Public pressure. She didn't say she was talking about anyone specific. But her eyes looked sad when she answered. That clip, of course, went viral. Fans dissected every word. Claimed it was proof that something had been real between her and Barış. That they'd wanted to be together, but couldn't make it work under the weight of public expectation. Whether that's true, only they know. But it fit the narrative people wanted to believe. The tragic love story. The right people at the wrong time. Romeo and Juliet for the social media age. Years have passed now. Both Barış and Elçin have thriving careers. He's become one of Turkey's biggest stars, with international projects and a massive following. She's equally successful, known for her versatility and grace. They've both grown, evolved, moved on with their lives. But every now and then, something happens that brings it all back. An interviewer will ask about Karalık Aşk. A fan will post a throwback photo. A clip from that awards speech will resurface and go viral again. And when it does, people pay attention to how they respond. Barış always speaks fondly of the show. Calls it a transformative experience. Says working with Elçin taught him things about acting he still uses. But he's careful. Never too emotional. Never crossing into territory that would disrespect his marriage or feed speculation. Elçin is similar. Gracious about the show's legacy. Appreciative of what it did for her career. When asked about Barış, she calls him a talented actor and a good person. Sometimes she'll add that they shared something special during that time. But she never defines what that something was. There have been a few moments over the years where they've been at the same events. Industry functions. Award shows. The first time it happened after the show ended, after Barış got married, everyone watched to see how they'd interact. They were polite. Warm, even. They hugged briefly. Exchanged pleasantries. Posed for a photo that sent the internet into meltdown. But there was distance too. A carefulness. Like they were both very aware of the optics. Of what people would read into every gesture. In that photo, if you look closely, you can see it. They're smiling. Standing close but not too close. And their eyes, if you really look, carry the weight of everything unsaid. Years of history. Speculation. Choices made. Paths not taken. Here's what we know for certain. Barış Arduç and Elçin Sangu created something extraordinary together. Whether it was just incredible acting or something more, it moved millions of people. It launched both their careers into the stratosphere. It gave viewers something to believe in during a time when real romance felt increasingly rare. We know that at the Golden Butterfly Awards in 2016, something shifted. Whatever boundaries they'd maintained cracked. They revealed something, intentionally or not, that they'd been keeping private. The world saw it. Recorded it. Obsessed over it. We know that in the aftermath, they made a choice. To retreat. To protect something. To not feed the machine that demanded answers they weren't willing to give. We know they both moved on professionally. Successfully. That they've handled the legacy of their partnership with grace and maturity. What we don't know, what we may never know, is what actually existed between them. Was it just profound friendship? Creative partnership? Or was it something romantic that couldn't survive the pressure? Did they choose careers over relationship? Privacy over confirmation? Or was the whole thing a beautiful fiction that we all wanted to be real? The truth is, maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe the not knowing is the point. Because what Barış and Elçin gave us, whether they meant to or not, is a story. A real, complex, human story about connection and chemistry and the impossible pressure of being watched constantly. They showed us that not everything needs to be labeled. That some relationships exist in the spaces between categories. That you can share something profound with someone and still choose to keep it sacred. Private. Yours. In an age where everything is documented, packaged, and sold, they held something back. And maybe that restraint, that refusal to commodify every emotion, is actually the most romantic part of their whole story. The one moment that changed everything wasn't just that award speech. It was every moment they chose not to explain. Every question they deflected. Every time they protected something real from a world that wanted to consume it. Years from now, people will still watch Karalik ask. Still see two people creating magic together. Still wonder what was real. And maybe, when they're old and their careers are long finished, Barış and Elçin will finally tell the truth. Or maybe they won't. Maybe they'll take it to their graves, that knowledge of what really was between them. And perhaps that's exactly as it should be. Because some stories are more powerful unfinished. Some questions more interesting than any answer could be. Some connections too complex, too precious, too private to ever fully explain. What we're left with is the work. The performances. That one perfect moment on stage where two people let their guard down and showed us something real. And the reminder that even in our surveillance society, even under constant scrutiny, it's still possible to keep something for yourself. Barış Arduç and Elçin Sangu didn't just give us a television show. They gave us a mystery. A story we'll never stop dissecting. A reminder that the most powerful love stories are often the ones that exist just outside our full understanding. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough. What do you think? Let us know in the comments.